Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. It is Yvonne from Ginger Chick Rehab. Do I have a great video for you today? I am taking and making over a couple birdhouses that were, they were a little bit worse for wear, and sharing with you and just giving these some amazing new life. So I hope you are excited for today's video. Yes, you definitely have to look past some of the not so nice looking birdhouses, and then I never pass up bird cages if they're priced right. They are just a fun makeover. And even that little snowy one, I know that I can do something with that one. I love the windows. I love all the holes that it has. Oh my goodness, and it has a secret treasure. Yes, it has a door that somebody has attached a light to, and that definitely was what drew me to this one. So the light was easy to remove, so let's see if this snow. So this, I believe, is just that spray snow that they had sprayed on it. So all I'm doing is trying to get rid of the texture of the spray snow, not unnecessarily getting rid of the white. And then they had wrapped and stapled on some pieces of grapevine wreath. So my vision is not to have those on, and most of them are broken off anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that along with the staples. And with the awkwardness of the way that the windows are, I thought, oh my gosh, the mushrooms, the toadstools would be perfect from IOD to put some mushrooms on this and give it that kind of whimsical look. So all I'm doing now is I'm just dusting some baking soda into which one of the cute little mushrooms I want to make. I'm just going to be using some air dry clay to make these. Now, while they're still wet, I'm going to go ahead and glue them on. I'm just using some of the Star Bond CA glue for that instant bond. Those mushrooms not look too cute. Okay, so now I'm going to add some greenery. Well, it's not going to be greenery quite yet, but I'm going to add some fern leaves growing up this birdhouse. Actually let my air dry clay dry overnight, only because the way that I wrapped it, I didn't want a chance moving the glue or anything like that. So you can paint them while they're still wet, but I'm going to go in and start painting. So I'm just taking some greens to make, my fern green. So I'll do a mixture of greens and browns to kind of give it that more realistic look. Now for that pop of color, I'm going to be doing my mushrooms red. And I'll link all the colors that I used today in today's video down in my description box under the Painted Heirloom, where I get all my color fusion paints. I absolutely love them. It's nice that they have it's paint, primer, and top coat all in one, so I don't have to worry about sealing it. And then I am going to add a little bit of the chocolate color just to the bottom, just to give it that hue. Watered down just a little bit, and then I'm just going to wipe off any excess, just giving that realistic, some dimension in these mushrooms. And then to add some dots to my mushrooms, I'm just going to use the back of my paintbrush. I just have, one of the smaller ones, and so I'm just going to dip it into some Victorian lace white paint and just put little dabs, little dots here and there on these mushroom tops. My next up is to get rid of that snowy scene. So all I'm doing is doing some watered down antiquing wax, running over the really white parts, just giving it that aged wood look, not necessarily taking away the white, again, just using what is there. To give it even more of a whimsical look, I am going to rise it up. I'm going to use some of the pieces and parts that came in auction boxes and use them up. So there's just this random piece of wood, another piece of wood, and but I need to add a newer piece of wood to make it so it's level. And actually, the birdhouse itself is kind of cockeyed. It's not straight up and down, so that's really what gave me that whimsical type of look. So I just need to glue these 3 pieces together and get them stapled and glued, and so they stay together. And now I need to make them match. Nope, there's no matching going on here. So I'm going to start off with using some antiquing wax and that new piece of wood. I just bought a box of this wood squares off of Amazon in the bulk. So it was really inexpensive that way, so I always had them on hand. I don't have to worry about coloring the top because that's where it's going to go. So now I'm going to go ahead and use some of that Victorian lace color fusions paint to make this a lot more matching. I'm not looking for total coverage here. I'm just looking to blend the 3 together. Yes, all I did was apply a 1 coat just to blend the 3, and now I'm going back in with sandpaper and really distressing it, bringing out those sharp edges. I did not want it to look pristine. I wanted it to look like, like the little fairy house. They had gathered pieces and parts to make the base for their house. Now, what can I do with this one? Yep, I bought this one as is, y'all. I sure did. But I saw it as bare bones, so I could do anything I needed to do with it. Well, unfortunately, first I need to get some of the chunks of glue and hot glue off that are left behind. Now that I've got those all pried off, I'm going to go ahead and get this sanded. It's very rough in texture. Get any of that glue that might be left behind a little bit. Not too chunky. And yes, the one side of the roof did crack, but it was at a very weak point. I'm never worried because I always know I can glue it back together. This is why I knew I didn't need to concentrate on that too much, that I had just recently thrifted these beautiful aged tins. And the nice thing is they have a painted side that I could have used, or they have the rusted, crusty side that I love. So I'm going to go ahead and use that side. And I know it's not a complete fit, but you kind of work with what you have and then work around that. And I thought I'd stick with that whimsical type of theme, and I'm actually going to do some hot gluing of some of the green moss on there. Now, this was a thrifted bag, so it's a little bit on the crusty, chunkier side, but it will still work. I don't want it to be really thick anyway. I want it to be nice and, thinner to go along with the roof, but I think I have enough that I can do the whole outer area of both sides of this roof. I have a few size spots that they wouldn't stand. I don't know what the heck was on those before, so all I'm doing is covering them up. Yep, using some more of that green moss. So now I need something for my little birdies to perch on, and I thought this rusty, crusty doorknob that's flat. It has the rods attached, so I should be able to drill in. And it's more decorative than probably be used, but yes, so I'm just matching up my drill bit with the rods that are attached to the doorknob, so I can just drill a hole and be able to attach it in there. And now I feel like I have a few more areas that I need to fill up. And along with my doorknob stash, we have quite a stash of rusty keys. And I thought, keeping with that little whimsical theme of a fairy garden where they would collect little items, I thought, let's glue some of these keys right onto that. I think it just gives it a cute look. For those two pieces of wood that are on there, I can't really stamp on them and everything. They are very uneven, but I do have some of these tacks that have numbers that are kind of that rusty crusty thing that I'm going with. So I'm going to go ahead and use a few of those just to put some random numbers that mean nothing onto those little slats of wood. I'd like to rise this birdhouse up too, and I have this random candlestick that's been in my hoard. The square ones don't usually sell so well, so I always wait for a project where I want to lift something up, where this is perfect. You need a base for it so it doesn't tip over. You need another base to go underneath the birdhouse, so it is perfect. But it's black, and that doesn't really fit in with the rusty crusty theme that I'm going for. So I'm going to use some of the Dixie Belle's Patina iron paint and a little bit of the green spray to make it that rusty crusty. Yep, it's not metal. It's not metal, but it will make it appear that it is metal and that it fits perfectly. So all I have to do is apply it. I don't need total coverage, so I'm only going to do one coat on this. And then after that dries, I will be using the spray, the green spray, which then will activate within an hour or so, and you will be amazed with how it looks. And why it's still doing what it needs to do on activation, I put some Gorilla Glue and now some hot glue to attach it to the birdhouse. I want to work on the bird cages, and I want to be able to lift those up. There's just something about rising something up, putting it on a pedestal that just, it sells better, right? Anyway, so I have these random candlesticks, pieces of wood that I've had in my stash, as you see, as I'm cleaning them off, way longer than I would like to admit. So this one actually has a nail on the top of it that I'll be able to puncture through this bird cage to really get a good connection. But first of all, we need to get these cleaned off. I'm gonna go ahead and get that punctured through. Not an easy task, but I'm gonna make it happen. So just a hammer on the bottom of it, and then I have my hole now, and then I'm gonna go ahead with some E6000 and some of the hot glue to get it glued on. Kind of did this step backwards. I should have known better that I needed to put the flat base on there first before attaching it to the bottom of the bird cage. But, you know, sometimes you make life difficult. Now I need to tie all three pieces together to look like they go together, other than just being random pieces and parts. So I want to actually give it a little bit of distressing. So I'm just using Vaseline here, there. Yep, plain old Vaseline before I paint it. Just randomly here, there, spots wherever I think natural wear would be. Where what the Vaseline does, it prevents when I go to paint it, the paint from sticking. And I'm just going to be using spray enamel. It's just white spray enamel to spray this up. This is a metal bird cage, but it'll do the job. You know, I don't want to have to hand paint all those little spindly areas of a bird cage, and I only have a couple small projects I'm doing here today to get my big sprayer out. So a can of spray. Let's see if the Vaseline works with a can of spray. I think it will. Now I let this completely dry overnight, and all I'm doing now is going back in and either scraping or wiping off the Vaseline. So that's what the Vaseline does. It prevents the paint from sticking. So anywhere I had it should wipe right off, or if I need to take a scraping tool, I just didn't want to mark up my metal too much. But yeah, it wipes right off. And then after I get that all wiped off here and there, I take a washcloth and some soapy water to make sure that the Vaseline is all off the item. What do you do with a pedestal bird cage? Well, you could put a bird in it, you could put a bird's nest in it, but I'm going to actually add some greenery. So I have some of this thrifted greenery pieces and parts that I don't want. I'm going to go ahead and clip it off, but I want something trendling. I want something kind of hanging because my idea is to add some fairy lights to this. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to put any moss, anything inside the bird cage. I think I have enough that it will cover up any of the ends. So I'm just going to weave it in and out up between the pieces of metal, you know, and kind of keep it in there nice and tug. Always working towards covering up so you don't see a whole bunch of the ends, but I did cut most of the wire off, so because this is a little bit on the shorter side, and these actually hung pretty low, that I would be able to kind of weave them in and out and cover up that middle. And then I felt like I still needed a little bit more, so I went to my stash to see what else I had in the greenery department. And I see some ferns in this pile, so I'm going to go ahead and add those also. So now that I have that nice and full, I'm going to go ahead and add some battery operated timered fairy lights. There's just something about lighting something up. So I'm just going to weave it in so that the battery on and off switches in the back. And then I'm just going to play with the wired lights. It's really a thin light. I always like to keep them on and work with them gingerly so I don't snap that fine wire. But I don't want to go ahead and weave it on and off and find out that I broke a wire and it doesn't work. So I always leave them on when I'm doing it. So on this one, with it being smaller, I'm just going to have 2 of them added in, but just kind of intermixing them in with the greens. For the other one, it's pretty much the same concept, though this one was just a candlestick, no nail in it. This one already had been previously painted, but it is much larger. The difference in this candlestick is that it was really shiny and I needed to match up the piece of wood a little bit better. So I'm just going in with some Fusion's chocolate brown to make the match. Now for this larger bird cage, I do actually need a space filler. I could put a pot in there, which might make it a little top heavy, but I actually just thrifted this beehive looking thing. So a little godwing foam in there, that'll be perfect to put in the middle of this to add some greenery into. And then these are 2 pieces of baby grass, I believe it's called. I purchased at Hobby Lobby. I actually used it in my retail booth just for a pop of green. I always have a price tag on it, but it usually is just there for a pop of green. Not very often does anybody buy greenery out of my booth. But anyway, I thought this would be perfect. Since it's been sitting there for a couple years, actually, y'all, that this would be a perfect opportunity to use it up. So thank you so much for watching today's video. Yes, those bird houses needed a transformation. Moss, rusty, crusty, adding molds, putting lights and greenery into bird cages, putting them on candlesticks, just combining items that were never meant to be together and creating something new. Just sharing my vision, my process of my inspirations that I see all around me with you all. So let me know down in the comments below, have I inspired you to look at secondhand finds in a new way? And do you have some of these little worse for wear items that could be repurposed and made into something new? Again, thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you next time, and you can see what we're up to. Bye.